My spouse, who had always detested physical activity, developed a passion for yoga. She enthusiastically declared, "Aren't you glad I'm into yoga now?" Naturally, I encouraged my partner's new interest. However, one afternoon as I went to collect her after a session, I inadvertently witnessed her and the male yoga instructor performing poses entirely unclothed. Standing outside the studio, my spirits plummeted. I had never anticipated that her yoga teacher would be male. Initially, when she expressed a desire to take up yoga, I only had a mild objection. Given that she typically avoided exercise, she persuaded me by suggesting that yoga would enhance our intimate life and that it was her way of making me happy. Reluctantly, I consented. But I had envisioned a female instructor. Observing my partner engaging in close movements with another man in the studio ignited my anger. Just as I was about to intervene and halt the situation, my spouse lost her balance and fell into the instructor's embrace. She lightly tapped his muscular chest. "Did you do that on purpose?" The instructor grinned smugly. My partner rose and challenged him. "Tell me, how many women have you tricked with this move?" I was taken aback. My heart turned cold. She wasn't upset. Instead, she was flirting with him. A sense of betrayal overwhelmed me, and my fists clenched tightly. The instructor held her close. "This is part of my job. I need to earn a living," he responded calmly. My partner pouted angrily. "You dirty thing. Don't think you can come in unprotected next time." At that moment, words failed me. I scanned the area for something to use, filled with the urge to confront these two deceitful individuals. But then I reconsidered. Breaking in now would likely lead to a major altercation. Ending the story with a physical fight and a subsequent divorce felt too straightforward for them. I suppressed my rage and called my partner. "Are you almost finished with your class?" "Almost, by the way. My distant relative is visiting town, and I'd like to take him out for dinner tonight." As we talked, my partner slyly glanced at the instructor. His demeanor shifted noticeably as he pointed to himself, seemingly questioning if she was referring to him. My partner nodded affirmatively, then gestured and continued. "Honey, could you prepare some extra dishes and wine for tonight?" The instructor silently mouthed, "Wine." My partner then instructed me, "Buy 2 bottles of good wine." I scoffed internally. These two were clearly seeking excitement, attempting to provoke me within the confines of our home. Fine, I immediately agreed and left the gym, heading straight to the supermarket to purchase the wine. 2 quality bottles. I adulterated 1 bottle with 80% water, significantly diluting its alcohol content. The other bottle was mixed with half a bottle of medical-grade alcohol, specifically intended for her dear instructor. "So you enjoy drinking? Let's see if you can handle this." After preparing the beverages, I also bought several pre-made dishes. "You deserve my cooking, darling. You'll never get that chance again. Watch how I handle both of you." Around 6:30 p.m., my partner returned with her so-called relative. This relative seemed adept at playing his role, bringing a bag of inexpensive apples. "Honey, let me introduce you. This is my cousin, Leo." "Oh, cousin, you didn't need to bring anything." Times must be tough for you. My partner and the instructor were taken aback by my remarks, seemingly puzzled by the hardships I referenced. "Can't you see my designer clothes? Come on, don't just stand there, have a seat." I invited Leo to the couch and poured him a glass of cold water. "Leo, it's almost the Mid-Autumn Festival. Why did you suddenly come to our town?" Leo was clearly caught off guard by my question and glanced at my partner. She quickly intervened. "What does traveling have to do with holidays? Honey, can you ask something more relevant?" "You don't get it. My cousin's parents have passed away, and the Mid-Autumn Festival is for visiting graves." Leo nearly spit out the water he had just drunk. "What's wrong?" "Leo, did I say something wrong?" He wore a pained expression and nodded stiffly. "Yes, I've already visited their graves in advance." "And what about your sister's assault case? Has that been resolved?" Leo slowly lifted his head, looking confused. My partner immediately cut in. "Honey, you must be mistaken. I said, didn't you tell me about this?" I was referring to a different cousin. I nodded awkwardly. Leo, it seems there was a misunderstanding. Leo's face darkened, but he forced a smile and asked if dinner was ready. I've never met you before and just want to enjoy a good meal tonight. I swiftly moved to the kitchen as I usually focused on healthy eating and had never purchased pre-made dishes before. Today's sudden feast surprised my partner. Honey, you did a great job. It's not every day a cousin visits, so I couldn't slack off. Come, sit down. Cousin, make yourself comfortable. Leo sat opposite us, and I poured him a glass of the strong wine. Observing this, my partner hurried to fill my glass as well. I smiled and said, 1 bottle each. I opened the pre-prepared bottle of liquor and poured myself a glass. The first drink always has a story. I stood up with my glass and opened my phone's camera. Come on, honey, let's take a photo with cousin Leo. We can print it and frame it later. My partner and Leo laughed upon hearing this. I could sense a deeper meaning in their smiles. Who else would willingly take a photo with someone who's unfaithful with his wife? Probably just me, honey. This is a video, not a photo. I know it's a video. We'll record it first, then capture the best moments as screenshots later. It saves us from taking multiple photos and interrupting our drinking. They both agreed it made sense and cooperated enthusiastically. The 3 of us fit into the frame. I loudly asked, Cousin Leo, aren't you handsome? Handsome. They both responded eagerly, likely thinking it was just like saying cheese for a photo. But it was far more than that. When I caught them in the act, that cousin would symbolize much more than mere infidelity. How could it be the same? How? Once everything was set, it was time to start drinking. For me, the wine went down easily. Leo, on the other hand, took a small sip and immediately shuddered violently. This wine. Leo looked confused. It's fine, I reassured him. I spent over 1,000 on each bottle. He felt better knowing the price. It's good, just has a bit of a medicinal taste. After a few rounds, Leo hadn't even finished half a bottle and was already slurring his words and swaying in his seat. I played along, pretending to be tipsy as well. At this point, my partner suddenly said, Honey, there's something I need to tell you. Go ahead, dear. Speak your mind. Cousin is actually in some trouble and came to us for help. Isn't that right, cousin? My partner looked at Leo, who immediately put on a poor act. That's right. Things have been tough lately. I had nowhere else to go and thought of my cousin. My partner even teared up, whether she got too into character or not. She was suggesting I give money to support this gigolo. Honey, my cousin has been really good to me. He even saved my life when we were kids. When we were 7, we played by the riverbank, and I almost drowned after slipping in. Cousin Leo jumped in without hesitation to save me. Well, no problem. I'll help. Tomorrow I'll find a job for cousin Leo. I cut her off quickly because her acting was so poor that I feared she might slip up. Unexpectedly, as soon as they heard about the job, they both started explaining urgently, especially my partner, who was the most anxious. Honey, you misunderstood. Cousin actually wants to borrow some money to get back on his feet. Look at his clothes. All branded. He used to be a successful businessman, but recently fell on hard times. Oh, I see. How much does cousin want to borrow? My partner gave Leo a nudge. Leo gritted his teeth and said, 300,000. My partner looked disappointed. Does she think that's not enough? This heartless person. Doesn't she know how hard I work every day to earn money? Things are a bit better now, with around 10,000 a month coming in. But before, I was really risking my life. Back when we first got married, her expenses were huge to satisfy her need to keep up with others. I secretly worked as a water diver for 3 months, diving at construction sites to retrieve drill bits, earning 10,000 if I surfaced alive, and 100,000 for my family if I didn't. Several times I almost died. Yet even then, I named my partner as the beneficiary on my insurance policy, and this is how she repays me. Honey, can you do it? My partner eagerly asked. I pretended to be drunk and boasted, 300,000 to start over. I'll invest $1 million. They were both stunned and then delighted. My partner was particularly surprised, not expecting me to have that much money. But then I dampened their excitement with cold reality. The only issue is I don't have that much liquid cash right now. Here's what we'll do. I have a friend who provides loans at very low interest for people like us. It's no problem to loan out $500,000 each. I'll take a $500,000 loan in my name, and honey, you can take another $500,000. That should be enough. Upon hearing the word loan, their expressions soured slightly. Are loans safe? They questioned. Absolutely. There's nothing unsafe about it. That friend and I grew up together, cousin. I'm not bragging, but even if you can't repay him, he won't come after you. Our friendship is solid. I'll even guarantee the loan for you. Anyone who's ever taken a loan knows that if the borrower can't repay, the guarantor bears all the pressure. Leo quickly agreed. My partner's mouth slowly curled into a smile. I maintained my smile as well. The bait had been taken. After addressing the important matters, Leo began to toast me frequently. He could handle his liquor and only passed out after finishing the bottle. I helped him to the guest room to rest, and while cleaning up the dishes, my partner mentioned she felt dizzy and wanted to rest too. I allowed her to leave, knowing she would feel dizzy because I had slipped some sleeping pills into her drink. Once I was certain they were both asleep, I sneaked my partner's phone out. I discovered her chat history with Leo. The messages were explicit. They had begun their affair from the first date they exchanged money and even went to a hotel that night. My partner frequently sent Leo provocative photos, and he responded with images of his abs and thighs. There were also numerous hotel room numbers provided by my partner. They had met in hotels at least 10 times in a month. She wasn't practicing yoga to please me. It was always Leo who was getting satisfied. Grinding my teeth, I took screenshots of all the chat records. Then I stormed into my partner's room and slapped her 5 times hard. She gradually opened her eyes. What's wrong, honey? Nothing, just mosquitoes. She fell back into a deep sleep. I repeated the process in Leo's room, punching him as well. Even after beating them, I didn't feel satisfied. Hitting them while they were half asleep didn't feel fulfilling enough. After contemplating, an idea struck me. I dragged Leo into our bedroom, closed the door, wreaked havoc in the living room, and then lay down on the couch. Early the next morning, I gathered my strength, swung my arm wide, and rained slaps on both their faces until they woke up. This time, they truly woke up. My partner was furious. Andrew was equally angry. They nearly jumped out of bed to confront me. I pointed at Leo and cursed him. You bastard. I was about to invest $1 million in you, and you do this to me. Leo instantly understood. My partner was also shocked. This wasn't some hotel room they had rented. It was my home. Leo wasn't her lover. He was her cousin. In a dramatic twist to secure my $1 million investment, my partner slapped Leo, feigning innocence. She checked under the blanket. Cousin, how could you do this? Leo looked utterly remorseful. I drank too much last night. I don't remember how I got here. Partner, he pleaded. Please let me explain. I genuinely forgot. Besides, look at my clothes. Clearly, nothing happened. I looked at them, seething with rage. After a long pause, I waved my hand dismissively. Yeah, we did drink a lot last night. Even I ended up sleeping on the couch. Forget it, we're family. My partner and Leo were visibly relieved. After breakfast, Leo left quickly, his face swollen from the slaps. My partner whispered to me, Honey, we shouldn't drink like that again. I replied, Right, next time something worse might happen. She added, So about the money for cousin, we still need to invest. I think your cousin has potential. If he succeeds, we might even get a share. My partner couldn't hide her happiness and immediately took me out to get a loan. I wasn't lying. I did have a childhood friend who worked in the loan industry. I had secretly messaged him last night, asking him to refuse a loan request due to insufficient credit. Even as a guarantor, he should find a way to make them sign and then remove my name. Loan officers know how to handle these situations. No need to educate them. My friend inquired about the situation, and I honestly told him, I've been cheated on and want to punish the adulterers. He was furious and promised to handle it. When we went for the loan, both my partner and Leo accompanied me. Upon learning that my credit was insufficient, my partner was puzzled. "Honey, you've never taken a loan before. How come your credit is bad?" I pretended to be equally perplexed. My friend quickly explained, "Technically, it's not really about credit. It's because he got into a fight a few years ago and had to be disciplined. So the system flags him." My partner nodded suspiciously, trying to recall when I had fought. My friend stood beside us and said disappointedly, "So we can't get the $1 million loan." "$1 million is easy," he continued. "Just give me both of your ideas to check." They hesitated, but eventually handed over their ideas. The system easily approved them. My friend informed them, "Each of you can get a limit of $1.5 million. How much do you want to borrow?" $1.5 million? I thought we could only get 500,000. Most people can only get 500,000, but Ken is my buddy. I can use some channels. Of course, the system has to approve it. If Ken doesn't pass, there's nothing I can do. I almost couldn't help but give my friend a thumbs up. That explanation was brilliant. "Why don't we each borrow 500,000? Leo asked my partner. She didn't hesitate and nodded. But my friend immediately reminded them, "The interest on 500,000 is quite high. Borrowing 1.5 million is actually the best deal, almost like a housing fund loan." "But I don't need that much," Leo replied. "Sure," my friend joked. "After all, who normally has 1.5 million lying around, let alone in loans?" Unexpectedly, my friend added. He joked with him, "Why are you so afraid with a guarantor? There's nothing to worry about, just go for it." My partner, hearing this, found it reasonable. Clearly planning to deceive me, she nudged Leo. "Cousin, haven't you always wanted to open a gym? Since my husband supports you, just go for it, honey. If we borrow 3 million, can you handle it?" I pretended to hesitate, rubbing my forehead and acting like I was making a big decision. "I can handle it," I replied, seeing Leo dressed in all those brands. "He must have a knack for business, cousin. Don't forget to give me a share of the profits when you make money." With the atmosphere built up, Leo was already committed. Unable to back down, it was clear he was hesitant. Only my partner, blindly in love, believed in her lover's ability without question. She even suggested opening a gym. Gyms often fail, and even selling equipment later would be tough. But that was perfect for my plan. If they didn't squander the money, my revenge wouldn't be meaningful. Leo finally signed the contract. He and my partner each borrowed 1.5 million. They watched me closely as I signed the guarantor section. After the contract was completed, they carefully reviewed it once more before leaving town. Later, I secretly asked my friend, who informed me that the pen I used had disappearing ink. That's why he kept reminding me not to press too hard, ostensibly to avoid tearing the paper, but actually to leave no trace. The real show was about to begin. That afternoon, after finishing work, I returned home to find Mimi was not there. I could guess where she went. I urgently needed to capture evidence of their affair. The more explicit, the stronger the impact of their incestuous betrayal. It would ensure those two deceitful individuals were utterly disgraced. Last night, I had secretly installed a hidden app on Mimi's phone. Not only could it track her location, but it also allowed me to eavesdrop. Finding her was easy. She was at a cafe. My partner was indeed discussing opening a gym with Leo. Opening a gym is the best option. We should stick to what we know. "Leo, aren't you worried I'll attract more female members as a gym owner?" "Haha, I've secured so much money for you. If you mess around again, I'll cut off your manhood." "Leo, all right, we'll open a gym then." "Honestly, babe, is your husband foolish? He agreed to guarantee a 3 million loan for a distant cousin he's never met. You don't get it. Ken always does what I say. If he hadn't agreed, I'd have thrown a fit and he'd have caved immediately. Trust me, that guy's a fool. He even worked as a water diver behind my back once." "Water diver? Damn, is he suicidal?" "Ha, it was all for me." "Leo, haha, I almost feel guilty taking advantage of such a good man's wife." Oh, please. You can't even walk past a woman without hitting on her. Feeling guilty? Are you? Guilt is one thing, but sleeping together is another. Cousin, tonight I want you. Yeah, calling me cousin is quite thrilling. Leo, have you really been with your cousin before? Get lost, working hard for my partner, only for her to call me a fool. This despicable woman. But now I felt nothing. No anger. I had resolved to ruin their lives. To me, they were just prey, not even human. As I contemplated, my partner's location marker started moving. The next stop was likely a hotel. I initially planned to catch them in the act myself, but reconsidered. If I caught them now, what if they returned the loan money? Then I remembered a platform on the dark web with few members, but full of scandal enthusiasts. Some streamers there specialized in catching cheaters. They helped those who couldn't personally confront their unfaithful partners by gathering evidence at hotels. I immediately logged onto the platform and found a streamer in our city who specialized in this kind of work, known as Shadow Hunter. His fees were steep. $1,000. And, of course, I wasn't going to pay out of my own pocket. Instead, I called Emmy. Honey, has the money arrived? It just came in this afternoon. Your friend works really fast. Be sure to thank him with a meal sometime. No need to wait. I'm with him right now. But your husband hasn't been paid yet and is a bit strapped for cash. Can you transfer me $1,000 for spending? Emmy, acting like a nouveau riche, immediately transferred $1,000 to my account. After the call ended, I confirmed their exact room number through her conversation with the receptionist. In Shadowhunter's live stream, I posted a comment. Got a task? Will you take it? A pair of cousins are in a hotel room. I have the room number. Help me catch them in the act. As soon as I mentioned cousins, the chat exploded with excitement. Even Shadowhunter was impressed. He immediately messaged me privately to confirm the exact address. I just played the role of a viewer watching Shadowhunter leave his house and drive to the target hotel. I kept reminding him in the chat, remember, the footage needs to be clear. Shadowhunter assured me not to doubt his professionalism. Then he asked if I had any special requests. I thought for a moment and realized I did. When you get in, say this line. Leo, you scumbag. How could you do this to my sister? I'm going to expose you both. As a yoga instructor, Leo had countless female friends. This line would shift all suspicion away from me, placing the blame squarely on Leo. Soon, Shadowhunter arrived at the hotel, standing outside the target room. Just as he was about to enter, I told him to wait. The two inside hadn't started yet. They were probably showering, with the water running. Ah, damn, I guessed wrong. I immediately instructed Shadowhunter to proceed. He borrowed a universal keycard from the floor's cleaning lady, swiped it, and kicked the door open, charging in. What followed on the live stream was shocking. Leo and Emmy frantically tried to hide, thinking it was a police raid, diving under the covers. Leo's voice trembled. Who are you? Shadowhunter, ever the professional, splashed the leftover milk tea on Leo's face, grabbed his clothes, and shouted, You bastard! How could you do this to my sister? Who's your sister? Wait until I expose you to everyone. Shadowhunter completed his task flawlessly and recorded the entire live stream. Huh, it's that easy. Who is he? Whose sister did you mess with? I didn't know. I haven't been with any other woman recently, just you. Now he's got us on video. If he exposes us, we're done. What if my husband sees it? Leo, don't ask me. I'm stressed out too. If your husband sees it, he'll divorce you, and then we can be together openly. The listening device was silent for a while, but from a distance, I could tell Emmy was tempted. Emmy, she said, then we need to transfer the assets from home quickly, or I'll be left with nothing. Leo, right. Transfer the assets, and we need to open the gym as soon as possible. Leaving him no room to maneuver, I realized my heart was filled with joy, just waiting for them to spend the $3 million quickly. Over the next 2 weeks, Amy often left early and returned late. She was secretive every day and avoided meeting my eyes. Guilty as charged. Little did she know that every move she and her lover made was under my control. They rented a large apartment in the city center and were busy with renovations and buying equipment. They even underestimated their budget. After spending all $3 million, they realized it wasn't enough. Leaving a large empty space, they thought I was a fool and wanted me to be the guarantor for another loan from my friend. Now I had leverage. I told them frankly that the last one, $5 million each, was almost the limit, and I couldn't ask my friend for more favors. Leo was very generous, offering a $10,000 commission on the spot. These two had clearly lost touch with reality after squandering $3 million. Thinking $10,000 wasn't much, their minds were consumed by their business. With the conversation at this point, I had to help them. As a result, they each took out another $500,000 loan, bringing the total to $4 million in our county. That's enough to buy at least 5 houses, so grandiose, truly impressive. I secretly gave them a thumbs up and then accepted their invitation to visit their gym during its soft opening. I must admit, the gym they invested in was quite nice, but it had very few people. Just a handful of women, probably Leo's mistresses. Amy's face was priceless when those women arrived, secretly pinching Leo's waist out of jealousy. Amy could really be called a passionate lover. "Ken, brother-in-law, let's have dinner tonight and you can give me some feedback on the gym." Leo invited me. I agreed, but strongly suggested bringing those women along to lighten the mood. Leo was visibly uncomfortable. Amy asked, "Honey, what are you up to? Those are cousins' friends. Do you have any ideas?" "Of course not, dear. They helped out during the soft opening, and cousins should show some gratitude. Let's talk privately, away from those women." Additionally, Amy kept her distance from Leo in my presence, so the women didn't know each other's identities. I was planning a grand scheme. With things said thus far and the women willing to go, Leo had no choice but to agree, as I was the main investor with the final say. We chose a star-rated hotel. Sparing no expense, our group of 8 ordered a table full of dishes with the bill likely exceeding $10,000. Such an important occasion definitely called for alcohol, with 8 people drinking. The liquor flowed freely. As the alcohol kicked in, the atmosphere grew lively. The women glanced at each other like characters in a palace drama, seemingly with many hidden thoughts, waiting for the right moment to speak. Leo was smart, constantly talking about his gym, never giving any opportunity for emotional topics. Seeing this wouldn't do, I immediately interjected, "Honey, which one is your cousin's girlfriend?" This statement carried a lot of weight. It not only revealed Emmy and Leo's relationship, but also put Leo on the spot. Sure enough, being called cousins in front of many romantic rivals, Amy's face looked terrible. "How should I know, cousin? You tell us." Emmy's voice showed emotion. Andrew, like a woman in her 30s, blushing, slapped the table and stood up. "Leo, what do you mean? You asked me to play along, and now you say you don't have a girlfriend. What do you take me for? What do you mean you're his girlfriend?" The woman beside her, who had been holding back, finally stood up. "And what's your relationship with Leo?" Since the beginning of the dinner, I noticed these two women didn't get along, always on guard against each other. The fuse finally lit. The other women didn't react as strongly. It was clear they had families and only saw Leo as a plaything. Now, like me, they sat back and watched the show. Sensing the imminent battle, Leo hurried to mediate. "This is a bit complicated. Let's talk about it later and eat first." "Eat your damn food." One woman in her 30s picked up a plate and threw it at Leo. "You bastard! I fed you and took care of you, and this is how you repay me." The woman beside her wasn't one to back down either, throwing her tea at Leo. "Scumbag." Both women stormed out but quickly returned. I had uploaded the video of them cheating to Leo's social circle. Leo had his own fitness group, and I had anonymously joined it using a secondary account through Emi. Since all the money was spent and his mistresses were present, what better time to stir things up? When the women returned, they immediately started fighting with Leo, scratching his face until it looked like a mess. Seeing her lover being attacked, Emi tried to intervene, but the two women turned their attention to her. One grabbed Emi's hair while the other slapped her repeatedly. Their coordination was impressive. Just moments ago, they were enemies. You filthy slut! Seducing your cousin into bed. You worthless whore! How can you commit incest? Are you your mother and uncle's illegitimate daughter? The scene turned chaotic, with plates and bowls shattering everywhere, even attracting the attention of the staff outside. The waitstaff yelled for them to stop. I couldn't stay idle any longer. I seized the moment, stepping in to protect Emmy. I pushed her back a bit to create some distance, reddening my arm. You got cheated on and you're still protecting her? The woman nearly shoved the video in my face. I'm not a great actor, I yelled. Bastard! I turned around and swung my arm, slapping Amy's scratched face hard. Honestly, that slap left Amy dizzy, making her collapse into a chair. But I wasn't done. I immediately grabbed a wide model and smashed it over Leo's head. The bottle shattered. Andrew clutched his head, crying out, tears and snot streaming down his face, blood flowing through his fingers. You two scumbag cousins committing incest. Honey, let me explain. I slapped him again, pointing at her. Divorce, damn it. Then I kicked her to the ground and walked out of the hotel, stepping over him. Once outside, I waved my arms and danced. Damn, that felt good. Once I got home, I didn't rest. I quickly edited the video of the affair, posing as a third party, and uploaded it online titled, Shocking Cousins from the City Caught in Bed Together. As soon as the video was uploaded, major bloggers rushed to repost it. Some even begged for the uncensored original video. The main thing was to keep the hype high. The gossip didn't make it to the trending list, but quickly spread across various short video platforms. Many people recognized Emmy and Andrew. Among them were a few of my friends who immediately called to ask what was going on. I told them I had no idea, and that I had already decided to divorce Emmy. Emmy's parents even came to see me that very night. The elderly couple, with tears streaming down their faces, almost knelt before me, trying to atone for their daughter's sins. These two weren't easy to deal with. They had demanded $500,000 as a dowry, and I rarely visited them throughout the year because they never treated me well. Now they were kneeling, begging for my forgiveness. I simply sneered, Uncle, Auntie, Amy's infidelity means she should leave the marriage with nothing. You should prepare to return that $500,000 dowry to me as soon as possible. The elderly couple were stunned and at a loss. At that moment, Amy returned, only to face a double assault. Her parents hit and cursed her, calling her a disgraceful, shameless harlot. They even demanded to know which cousin she was with. As they had no idea, after a night of continuous beatings, Amy's mental state collapsed. I love cheating. I love Leo. Leo is not just some cousin. He's my lover. Are you satisfied now? Misfortune has befallen our family. Amy's parents looked like they wanted to die, but Amy remained indifferent, her eyes cold as she looked at me. I deceived you. Let's get a divorce. Of course we're getting divorced. I acted even colder than her. But then I added, return the $500,000 dowry I paid when I married you. Without missing a cent, I don't have money right now, but I'll return it when I do. Sign the agreement first. Amy had prepared well. She had already drafted the divorce agreement. I glanced over it. Amy was to leave with nothing, and the $500,000 dowry would be returned later. No problem, so I signed it. Then Amy abandoned her parents and left alone. It puzzled me. Those were her parents, not mine. I promptly kicked them out too, finally finding some peace at home. Emmy and Andrew, in their foolishness, decided to officially open the gym during such a high-profile scandal. As expected, netizens quickly dug up the affair and organized a boycott. Their painstakingly assembled gym faced a disastrous opening. The scandal was so severe that the landlord preferred to pay a $50,000 penalty to break the lease with them. Emmy and Andrew even begged the landlord, but he remained unmoved. In the end, less than a month and a half after opening, the gym failed. No one wanted to buy their used equipment, finding it disgusting and tainted. They were left with a $400,000 debt. Oh, and my $500,000 dowry, of course. Before the repayment date, Amy didn't contact me. After defaulting, she was warned by my friend and urgently called me. Ken, did you tamper with the contract? No, what contract are you talking about? Stop pretending. The loan contract. You were the guarantor. Why is your name not on it now? Emmy, don't falsely accuse me. When was I ever a guarantor? Amy was stunned on the other end of the phone. Ken, you tricked me. Did you plan all this to deceive me? I don't know what you're talking about. Goodbye. I hung up mercilessly. Immediately, I sold my house and moved away. I didn't want this crazy woman bothering me. One bite from her and I'd be in trouble. But I didn't give up on the $500,000 dowry. I took her to court. Given we had lived together for years, the court awarded me $300,500,000. I was satisfied with that. It was better than nothing. But the problem was, Amy couldn't pay. They still had the huge loan to repay. I'm a kind person and couldn't bear to see others suffer. So I bought her parents' house for $500,000. Emmy sent her parents to a cheap nursing home. Not long after, I heard that Amy's mother hanged herself, unable to bear the humiliation. Even elderly people nowadays use the internet. Some men in their 70s and 80s gossip too. Amy's mother couldn't endure the constant teasing about her daughter's scandal. Then her father, driven by grief over his wife's suicide, drowned the gossiper in a toilet. Now he faces life in prison. Emmy became an orphan. However, that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the loan. The interest compounded, making it impossible to pay off without significant means. I heard that Emmy turned to the sex industry to try and fill the financial hole, but half a month later, she was found dead in the street. The police quickly identified Leo as the prime suspect through their investigation. Leo was arrested, and as Amy's ex-husband, I cooperated with the investigation. In the detention center, I saw Leo. The once vibrant, muscular young man was now emaciated. I offered him a cigarette and asked what happened. He said he became a male escort to make money, but was victimized and got addicted to drugs. Under the dual pressures, he gave up on life. But before dying, he felt that Emmy was to blame for everything and wanted to take her down with him. That's what led to the events that followed. After hearing this, I found it incredibly satisfying. I gave him a big thumbs up. A man should always seek revenge, just like me.